And welcome to another episode of Marketplace Masters, brought to you by Merchant Spring, the leading marketplace analytics platform for agencies and investors. Marketplace Masters is all about going deeper into the challenges marketplace agencies and sellers face, with the aim of providing practical answers and insights to help them scale. I'm your host, Paul Sonneveld, and today we are exploring how to find, train, and scale human talent as an Amazon agency or a marketplace aggregator. To help us work through this topic, I have invited Daniel Tejada to join us and share his expertise. So let me introduce today's guest. Daniel Tejada began his career in advertising on Amazon in 2016. He has since spent over 50 million on Amazon ads personally and sold over 1 billion worth of products on the platform. Daniel is the co-founder and chief learning officer at Straight Up Growth, an advertising and growth agency that manages $40 million worth of ad spend on Amazon with over 400 million in sales on Amazon this year. Thank you for being on the show today, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
It's, this is a topic, but today we're talking about talent, hiring. It's a topic that's certainly very, very close to many agencies. And maybe I thought I'd ask you first. You run an agency, Straight Up Growth. What does your talent pool look like? How are you guys structured in terms of people?
Yeah, great question. So, we have an interesting situation. We started actually right before COVID in February. So originally we were planning to hire locally, have an office. Obviously COVID hit, so that changed some things. So we are 100% remote with almost 30 employees right now. We do have a mix of some abroad folks, which we do have specific types of roles that we would use for abroad. A lot of that's going to come for like our development work. We've got some software that we are building in the app back end for Amazon's API, our web dev stuff. We tend to use actually the Ukraine's a really good spot. I know there's some situations there, but really, really good development work there. And then really all of our work that has to do with execution for Amazon, managing clients, that we do 100% remote, but in the US specifically for a lot of those tasks.
Yeah. And what do you see right now in terms of the market? I know last year there was a real crunch for talent, or maybe not, probably saying 3-4 months ago. What are you seeing right now? How would you describe the state of the market?
Yeah, great question. So I think you hit the nail on the head, especially with how hot the aggregator space got and Amazon in general. There was a huge kind of crunch for talent and just honestly not a large supply for folks on the Amazon front. I'd say in the past couple of months, it's maybe slowed down a little bit, but it is definitely still very hyper competitive, particularly when it comes to Amazon there. I think a big part of it is Amazon's still growing. I think the Amazon agencies are still growing while the aggregators have slowed down. There's been some layoffs. There's still more agencies popping up every single day. And then you have a lot of traditional agencies that want to get into Amazon, right? So they're trying to pick off a lot of the strong talent. So developing your own talent is something that I'm pushing really hard as well. It's like hiring folks that are junior, have the right, let's say, skill sets, even though they may not have the expertise on the Amazon side of things. And I find training that way can be a way to cut through, some of the tightness in the job market.
Yeah, it's certainly still a challenging situation. So, you have built, very impressively this, I'm sure you've had help, but
yeah.
Your business it's only a few years old. You've already scaled to 30 people. I'm sure you've come across the decision many times in terms of how to hire, where to hire. So let's talk about, where to hire and this big question, right? Local versus remote. You guys, I think you're based in San Diego.
Yep.
How do you decide? Do you want people in the office? Do you want remote? How do you think about that?
So great question. So initially we did try to hyper focus on local, right? Being able to get a little bit more in person. There's definitely some advantages to that. But especially as the market got really tight and just being in San Diego, we just got limited, by the available folks there. We now are 100% remote, like really anywhere based in the U.S. So I've got a pocket like in Utah, I've got a pocket in New Jersey, a couple other places there. Now there's definitely some challenges with it, but I do find that, having a 100% remote workforce does provide some positives. One, you get access to a bigger talent pool, right? So you're not just limited to folks that are close to you, but being able to hire people in Utah or, in New York and things like that has definitely been helpful. It does provide for a little bit more options. So I'm not as limited with maybe trying to hire someone that isn't necessarily the right fit, but being open there. Now there are some, I'd say, disadvantages, like, nothing replaces in person, I think, for just like really getting a lot of stuff done, right? So we still will do things like fly everyone out, do in-persons a couple times a year just to make sure we're still building that personal connection. We do, kind of like team activities, make sure we chat a lot. And I think building a personal relationship with your employees is even more important if you're going remote versus local, because you don't get that day-to-day interaction, right? That casual chat. So you have to kind of force it in a way. I think that's really key to making it work. And then trust is a big one, right? Like at the end of the day, you can't necessarily see what they're working on. So you have to hire people that you trust, and you can't babysit them. You got to give them achievable, kind of measurable goals, but kind of give them the flexibility to make sure that they can hit those.
Yeah, so actually I want to push you a little bit more on trust, because that's something that's easily bandied around and actually I think very hard to do. What are some of the things that you do with your team, the people that report directly into you that are perhaps based remote? How do you build trust?
Great question. I think one big thing is we set expectations for employees to slow roll their kind of entry. So even someone that, let's say, is a little bit more senior, has some experience, we're not going to get them to their full client load or their full workload right away. We're going to kind of pace it out, right? And really it's going to take 5 to 6 months for them to start really hitting their major efficiencies. But that makes sure we don't have to give away everything right away, right? We can have them start to work on little bits of the business. We can kind of measure and make sure that they're achieving those things. And then we start to essentially give them more and more of that kind of workload. That's kind of a way where we can measure how trustworthy are they, right? Like, are they able to achieve it? Or maybe there's even gaps in what they have, right? Maybe they came in with the assumption that they know how to do this, but when you actually hire them and after a couple months, you realize they don't know how to do that, right? But now we can focus our training on that effort and things like that.
And what about the, this could be a topic on its own.
Yeah.
But, I think the fear that many agencies have is, say you have an account manager, they're working remote, their job may be very similar to, a role at another agency. And how do you move from that, transactional nature, which makes it quite easy to switch and just wait for the better offer to come along, particularly really competitive market, versus actually building that sense of belonging and loyalty, and I know they're not sort of, one-word answers to these, but how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, for us, there's one thing that we emphasize like more than anything, and that's really learning, whether it's the client learning or actual employees themselves. So we do like an incredible amount of training compared to like previous spots that I've been at there. And the reason we're doing it is like our kind of internal slogan is we want to help good people learn great skill sets to become even better people, right? We really want to emphasize that learning piece. And I think a lot of our employees stick with us for that piece, right? It's not just a job. We're here to really invest in you guys, help you guys grow. I know those folks are going to take that and figure out ways to make more money from it down the line, as I did myself. But along the way, right, it creates stickier employees, I'd say, because it's not just about, what we're paying you, it's about the skill sets that we're able to teach you, right? And obviously it helps me, helps us as well. So it's definitely a win-win situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So talk to me a little bit about the hiring strategy. Let's say, you've taken on a set of new clients, you need to hire some new account manager or creative types to deliver. What's your go-to strategy or your go-to mechanism for hiring and identifying great talent? And it already sounds like you've got a bit of a preference to build talent from the ground up. You don't necessarily need people who've done this for 15 years, but you're looking for potential and talent.
Yeah, so I think we run both, right? So sometimes it's going to be, we always have a junior pool going, right? So we almost always have some interns or kind of more junior level folks that we're training. A lot of those come from like referrals, right? Just folks that have worked with us or have friends and things like that. Like employees tend to actually give you some pretty good leads from time to time. But another thing that I think is really a great tool is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn we use for talent, we use it for landing clients, but we almost always have like an ad running on LinkedIn, for example, for roles. That just ensures that we're getting kind of resumes kind of constantly flowing, because there is a time that we do need senior folks as well, right? And so we are kind of like what we'll usually have like a junior and a more senior role kind of running it out at all times. So we have a pool that we can at least start to work off of. And in extreme circumstances, sometimes you need to bring in a recruiter from time to time. Like usually that's going to be for more senior level roles. And when we're kind of on a quick time crunch, because there's little sprints in sales that can happen. Dropping. I know it's expensive, but sometimes it can be helpful to have just as a way to look through all those resumes, right? Because that can be an issue. We also have like a scoring system we've created. So any kind of like first we get our resumes, but for our actual interviews, we have a whole basically scoring system that we'll use, and that helps us kind of identify who we want to hire right now, but also we can go back to the scorecard to find out like, oh, we really like this person, we weren't able to hire them on this round. Let's see if they're still available, right? Or sometimes they know people that are available, even if they've gotten another role or things like that.
Yeah. Is there anything unconventional that you use during your interviewing and recruiting process?
During the interview process, yes. I'd say our recruiting process is not too crazy, but I think a lot of people are worth more than what it says on their resume. So like one of my questions that I say is a joke question, but is really not a joke question, is what flavor ice cream? Like if you were an ice cream flavor, what flavor would you be and why, right? Which doesn't directly have to do with any of the roles that we're hiring. But what it allows me to see is how someone answers that question can show me how they're able to learn something new, right? Or be able to overcome a problem on the spot, right? We're looking for that kind of critical thinking. And I know it's a really silly question, but it helps me a lot, right? If someone's like, I'm vanilla because I'm vanilla, I'm like, all right, well, that's probably not a very, enthusiastic or clever person. But when someone comes in and they're like, I'm caramel because, I'm half Hispanic and I'm, gringo, I'm like the best of both worlds, right? Something like that. Like, I'm like, right. There you go. That's clever. I like it.
Very interesting. I'll have to use that one. I might plagiarize that question.
Hey, you should. I'm sure I stole it from someone too. So, but I love it.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, let's move on to another really pressing topic. Right? You're an agency, you're growing, you're looking at your pipeline and going, right, if all of these deals convert, I have no idea to deliver it. But if they don't convert, then I've got this additional wage bill that I'm dealing with, right? So hiring, when to hire, to hire aggressively or not. How do you think about that question?
Yeah, no, great question. And it's something that we've toyed around, being conservative. We've been aggressive. Definitely learned a lot through both. I think a couple things is one, trying to figure out how to accurately forecast your sales, right? You're going to have a pipeline, trying to figure out with some semblance of accuracy. It doesn't have to be perfect, but having a system where you can start to predict the type of deal flow that you're looking for. Definitely a good way to start basing some of your hiring decisions. The other thing I will definitely say is it's better to have too much help than not enough. So I do try to lean on trying to be overstaffed than under. A big part of that as well is any hire you make, right? Especially like, your agency is going to have a different mold than someone else, right? And you guys might do things differently. So even if you're hiring someone experienced, I know that there's a ramp up period. And so if I'm hiring that person when I need to hire that person, I'm already probably too late to really properly introduce them, right? You also want to make sure as you're bringing them in, employees in, I like to have them sort of a soft entry, right? I don't want them to come in and be like, hey, here's all your clients, like here's 30 clients right off the bat, and we're having these fires, and please take care of this right away, right? I want them to be able to ease their way in, really learn the why we do what we do, and then start to ramp them up. So being a little bit more aggressive if possible. I know it can hurt the margin sometimes in the short term, but at the end of the day, to scale your business, it's really going to come down to the employees themselves, right? There's only one of me, and there's only so many hours in the day. And so at the end of the day, me being a little bit more aggressive in some of my hiring will enable me to go ahead and focus on achieving the growth itself, right? Growth is usually easier. It's the servicing the clients, in my opinion, that gets that's trickier.
Yeah. So I want to go back to some of the things you've already mentioned before about how you manage a remote team. We spoke about building trust, loyalty, building personal relationships, and you did also mention about getting together a couple of times a year. That's the topic I just want to hone in on. Can you talk me through maybe an example of how you've got the team together, or how you're planning to get them together, and how do you plan to spend that time, when in the same location?
Great question.
Maybe the agenda for that event.
Yeah. So next month we're going to fly everyone out to San Diego, right? So it'll be like almost 30 people there. Typically, what we do is, we're putting them all in the same hotel there, so they can all kind of hang out and sort of interact there. I like to have some scheduled activities, but also give what I just basically call like free play, right? Like usually a couple days where they're out here and they don't necessarily have an agenda, right? Part of it is we live in San Diego. It's a cool spot. I think it's good for people to be able to go to the beach and stuff like that. But it also allows them to like kind of make friends within each other too, right? So certain groups of employees will like go to dinners or go to lunch or whatever they might want to do. For us, in regards to like we don't tend to do tons of work when they are here, right? So I know some people, when they do those retreats, it's really focused on like, building a lot of things. We tried to really build relationships during that time frame because we're, we are remote and we're doing work all the time together, right? So having that more fun play. So we'll do like typically like a lot of like cool dinners. Like I know for July, I'm gonna rent like a big yacht and like get everyone to like ride on a boat together, which I think will be a cool activity. Some people like, some people are older, have more families, right? They might not want to go like out in downtown San Diego, right? So like we'll want to make sure that I've got some activities that like people are interested in, like maybe go rock climbing or laser tagging or just things that are just kind of like fun, silly. In the last year, for Christmas, we all went to the beach and played football and stuff like that, which was fun. And then usually we'll do like my little trick that I always do is like toasts. I'm really big on everyone speaking at least once during the event, even if they're not people that like to talk a lot. Like I'll usually have them go and give a little toast, right? Even if it's something small. And then my thing that I do is like this, kind of like a Mad Lib. So basically choose 3 words and then I'll give a speech on the spot around the kind of topics like for everyone. And so it's fun times. But having fun, that's really what we focus on during those in-persons.
It sounds certainly like a great time together, and there's always this push to try and be productive and do a lot of training and, not having a space for relationships. So I love how you are very, very protective of that. That's really great.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fun part. And one thing I would add is like some of my serious chats I'll have like in person, right? Like little things that I like want, like I see a manager that I want them to really focus on a certain area, right? I might save that for an in person rather than like if I have the opportunity, right? Rather than doing it on video chat. So.
Yeah, sure. No, that makes sense. Which led me to a final question in relation to this topic, which was, how do you recognize and reward great performance? Because it's not as visible sometimes when people are working remotely. There's less office chatter, things are less visible. So how do you identify and visibly reward or recognize people who deserve that?
I think it's a great question. So one, we do like a monthly, all of the employees can essentially submit who they feel is like the star for the month there. So we do have that piece that we'll do kind of on a monthly basis. We do also have kind of a weekly, I call it the weekly all hands, all arms, all legs chat, which is meant to kind of make sure that the team knows what's going on. So we'll have like company announcements. And one of the things we also love to do is like call out specific employees during that time frame, right? So like really great job on this account. And it doesn't just come from me, which is cool, because every single person on the call on our team has to speak during that call. And so it's good to see everyone else like calling each other out. So having that kind of environment where we definitely like call out publicly, I think is really important. Private encouragement is also good, I think too. Like, coming from the owner, like if I see one of my employees, even like an intern that's doing a good job, I'll reach out to them on Slack and I'll be like, I saw you doing that, great job, right? Like even if I'm not talking to them every day, I'm still watching, right? And just letting them know when I see something good.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome, man. Thank you. Hey, let's change gears and just talk shop for 2 minutes. And of course, it's the middle of June now as we record this. Still no official date from Amazon on Prime Day. Put you on the spot right now. What insights do you have for us? If you're a betting man, what date would you pick? By the way, 11th of July is my birthday.
What day is?
The 11th of July.
11th of July. If I was a betting man, would consider the 18th and the 19th to be the days that Prime Days are going to happen this year of July.
Okay.
18th and 19th. We'll see if I'm right, but I think I am.
That's quite late, right? That's a little bit later than usual, I think.
A little. It's delayed about a week from the normal time there. But yeah, based on what I'm hearing on my end, I think it's going to be a week later.
Yeah, awesome. Well, time will tell. But more importantly, what are you doing, or of course, what is your team doing, working with your brands, your clients, to help turn Prime Day into success?
No, great question. So Prime Day planning actually starts like usually 2 months ago, essentially, right? You want to start, like if you're running any of your Prime Day deals specifically, there's certain deals that work really well, like lightning deals or deal of the days. Those have to be submitted usually like 2-3 months before Prime Day. So most really Prime Day planning starts then. We'll submit some deals. Amazon doesn't give you the date of the deal till a week before, right? So you're in this limbo. If you've gotten accepted for a deal. There's other kind of backup deals you're going to start planning, like things like coupons. Promotions are key, right? If you do not run a deal on or a coupon or something on Prime Day, you will not see a lift in sales. It just does not happen. People are shopping on Amazon during that time frame specifically for the bargains themselves. So, that's one of the things that we'll definitely tell brands, because some brands don't want a discount, and that's okay. But we make sure they have the expectations that they're not going to see a lift, right? If anything, you usually see less sales that day because of the fact that you're not doing promotions. So promotion setup is key. The other piece is really ensuring you have visibility on that day, right? Because it doesn't matter how good your product is, how many reviews you have, how good the discount is, if people can't find the product itself. So really building your organic placements is key ahead of time. So we'll start to like really sprint on spend, not just like the week of Prime Day. We'll probably start 4 weeks leading up to Prime Day, right? And the whole goal is try to get yourself as strong organic positions as possible on your key search terms, so that when Amazon does have that 3x, 5x lift in search volume, you're very available, right? And you have that deal there. So that's a big key. Amazon's expensive, right? From a acquisition cost these days, it's getting more and more expensive. So the other thing is to try to concentrate the products that you're focused on, right? Like the more products you launch, the more ad dollars you're going to have. So for Prime Day, there's definitely a less is more part of that. So going through, with your brands and making sure that you are identifying the right products to promote during that time frame is going to be key as well.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing those Prime Day tips, Daniel. We are out of time, so let's wrap it up there. Thank you, Daniel, for joining me. We spoke a lot about hiring talent, finding the right talent, managing them, especially remotely. And it all starts with having the right people on the team. So thank you for sharing your insights, your experience, your journey. For any viewers that are interested in exploring your services, what is the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, they can reach out directly on our website, straightupgrowth.com. Can also find us on LinkedIn. We are all over that. Send me a message directly at Daniel Tejada on LinkedIn, and happy to set up another conversation.
I believe you may also have, I think you've got a special offer for listeners of this podcast. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we do these pretty awesome Amazon audits. We take a look at the last 60 days of your advertising and business report data and put together a pretty ridiculous analysis for you guys. So we do those for free for you guys here, for the listeners. Highly recommend. It's a great way for us to take a look and give you a lot of actionable insight, not just fluffy stuff as to what's going on, but things like your wasted spend, your branded versus non-branded, should you be ranking, all sorts of fun stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daniel. And till next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Paul.
That's it for our episode of Marketplace Masters. Thank you all for listening. And don't forget to visit Merchant Spring to access exclusive offers only available to viewers of this show. Till next time.